Hey, the live button is on. So that means we can start, right?
Right.
Except for my cat. Except for my cat running past in the background. Okay, are we ready? Are we ready? All right. Bar weep, grana weep, ninny bong, everyone. It is time for Australian Transformers Weekly. This is episode 158. We are recording live on July 6th, 2018. This week, we get our first look at the new cyberverse characters in a couple of different forms, both toy and digital. Power of the Primes has wrapped up on Machinima, and that's about all we really want to say about that. It's fine. We'll talk about it a little bit. Masterpiece Beast Wars Megatrons has been given a fairly hefty price tag. We'll talk a little bit about that and more after these messages.
What did room?
How long do we do this for?
I had to disconnect my headphones.
I was going to say, you're lucky you could do that without having the cord plugged in.
Can't do that. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Jason. Joining me this week, we have Brad coming to us from his undisclosed location somewhere in country Victoria. How are you doing?
Howdy, hey. Back again. A little bit more lively this week. Not so many overtime hours this week. So,
oh god, I haven't looked at a World Cup match in a week. I feel like I'm back in the land of the living.
You're getting withdrawal symptoms.
No, I'm not.
No, definitely
not. Coming to us from South Australia, the land of Tesla. Actually, not the land of Tesla anymore. But you know what? Actually, I just found out that Sydney has a small Tesla battery installation now as well. Apparently, we have a couple of them around the place now too. So anyway, enough of that. How are you doing over there, Max?
I'm doing all right, thank you, Jason. Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
And not enough of that. You've brought it up now, so prepare for future Tesla insurrections.
I'd love to know how far are we going to push this Tesla joke? How long can this stretch?
I've been on.
How long is a piece of string?
I've been on podcasts that had running jokes spanning several years.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Sure, we're coming up in at least a year at this point.
Maybe. Coming to us from the Great White North. Maybe it's white. I don't know. It's a little bit racist. Sorry, Chris. How are you doing?
Oh, mate. Yeah, you make me sound like I'm one of the Stark family or something. No, it's quite the opposite up here, mate. We're in the searing heat of the Queensland winter. Hence why I'm with you tonight. I'm actually sick. I've got the dad robe on. And as I said to the boys pre-show, I've got my special medicine to help me get through it. That's an old Queensland family
recipe.
That one.
Yeah. It's been passed down from generation to generation.
That's it.
Brewers.
Yeah. Puts hairs on your chest and then burns them straight off again.
Yeah.
Do you know how to spell it, or has it just got 4 X's in it?
No. Much, it may surprise you to know that not many Queenslanders actually drink 4X. It's sort of a running joke that we have, that we make everyone else in Australia drink it while we drink the good stuff.
If you'd like to play the name that beer competition, where you should substitute 4 letters for 4 X's. Please send your entries to the Chris Jenner Goes Fuck competition, care of TCCA.
I actually live not too far away from the 4X brewery, and let me tell you now.
So they couldn't name it either.
Well, it's the smell of that entire suburb surrounding it alone is enough to put you off it for life. So,
especially if you hate Vegemite.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Yeah, that's the oppressive stench of hops at all times.
All right. Look, we should talk about some Transformers.
Yeah, we should.
In an effort to not talk about Chris immediately on the show, how about we talk a little bit about Power of the Primes? Max, you and I have both watched the final episode of Power of the Primes. Brad has turned on the screen share early.
I took that cue completely wrong.
Indeed, you did. Max, you and I have watched the whole series of Power of the Primes. Chris, you've watched a couple of episodes of it.
Yeah. I'm about 3 in, but I did express to Brad tonight that not to feel too precious about spoiler alerts, because I will watch it and I've got a pretty good idea what's going to happen. Let's face it. I love the show, but it is a very predictable direction that it's taking. So so feel free to discuss away. I'm not going to go, oh, don't say that.
So Max, what do we got from the whistle stop tour of Cybertron that was Power of the Primes? We have a couple of ancient locations that were long thought lost that we've now visited. And where did the final battle take place? It was the Well of All Sparks, right? Or the Well of Sparks?
I think so. I got lost a lot in this show. There's simultaneously nothing happening and everything happening at the same time.
Yeah. So So having had in the final episode as well, like we've been dealing with Dark Hot Rod for or should I say Emo Hot Rod? Or let's just call him Emo Rod.
Call him Lemmy.
No, that's actually the last episode. He actually does properly turn into Lemmy in the last episode. He's Rodimus Unicronus.
Yeah, they've brought him in. Just as a side note, they've actually brought Rodimus Unicronus in his Lemmy form in this week as a playable character in the Earth Wars mobile game.
Oh, right.
So I'm assuming they did it at the same time that the show sort of finished. So
it's amazing what you can coordinate when you have your fingers in multiple media parts, isn't it? So of course this week we've seen a bit of a sort of a game of cat and mouse across Cybertron as Megatron and Team Megatron were hunting first of all the Requiem Blaster, then Megatron has turned up and took it away from them, and then they went to the Well of Sparks. And
did they ever explain why he did that?
Well, so he needed the Requiem Blaster and the Enigma of Combination and the Matrix to drain the spark power from all the Transformers in order to resurrect Solus Prime.
Yeah, duh. Come on, Max.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
I actually love how confused you look at this.
I watched the entire thing.
I'm poking fun there. I can totally understand why someone would be as confused as Max by it. But
So the final battle this week, we had Rodimus Unicronus turned up, full on possessed by Unicron this time. He wasn't Hot Rod or Rodimus anymore. It was straight up Unicron. Got stuck into it with. Got stuck into it with one of the characters. Oh, it was I think it was Optimal Optimus. Predaking turned up and was swiftly beheaded by Megatronus.
Predaking was a cameo.
Yeah, Predaking was basically a cameo. Like we haven't seen him since episode 2 of the show, and this week I think Predaking's appearance this week was just more a case of like, oh shit, toys coming out.
And when you behead a combiner, is that really killing it? I mean,
I don't know. It's so
combiners have died and just come back randomly in this show.
Yeah, didn't Devastator get a massive hole blown in his chest?
Yeah, and that
which you would think would
killed every Constructicon, and he comes back.
Yeah, and he comes back.
At the start of Combiner Wars.
When did he come back?
Did he come back?
No, he hasn't come back. He's dead.
Yeah, because Overlord killed him, didn't he? No. But the reason I say that is because he got a big hole blasted in his chest.
Yeah.
But he kept fighting for a little bit before he died.
Yeah, he's devastated.
And the size of the hole in his chest, you were like, well, who is it? Longhall that makes up his chest? It's like, well, he's gone. Like, who's holding him together?
Well, in Combiner Wars, Starscream was because it was the big, epic Combiner.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh,
no one remembers Combiner Wars.
Oh.
Yeah.
Also, we completely had no Terracons whatsoever in Power of the Primes. They seem to have been an afterthought. And of course, so at the very end of it, Solus Prime got resurrected and took Megatronus into the Well of Sparks, which was really never going to go any other way. So, thus extinguishing the threat from Megatronus. The Team Megatron removed the Matrix of Chaos from Rodimus Kron, who turned back into Hot Rod almost immediately. And then the Matrix of Chaos tried to reclaim Megatron and turn him back into Galvatron. Megatron had none of that, and Optimal Optimus turned the Requiem Blaster on him and destroyed Megatron, destroyed the Matrix of Chaos, and there was sunshine and happiness for the rest of eternity on Cybertron. Oh, and also mysteriously, for really no good reason, Optimus Prime climbed back out of the Wall of Sparks. So apparently, he'd just been having a bit of a spa down there for most of the series.
He got his chest windows fixed after.
Series. No, I'm definitely up on that.
But I think we can all agree we're at the stage. It doesn't matter what the series is or what the show is, what the franchise is. It doesn't matter anymore. When Optimus Prime dies, it's pretty much a given that he's going to be resurrected. I don't think you know what I mean?
It is. I think it goes beyond Optimus Prime almost. Yeah. It's almost
like when he died in the last series of the Machinima series, I was just like, all right, when's he coming back? You know what I mean? Like there was no expectation that he would be dead forever.
That's because it's not 1986.
That's it.
And of course, there was one final returning character at the end of this episode as Optimus walked off and says that he will always be there for Cybertron. The camera sneakily panned away off into the darkness of the hangar that Optimus and Optimal had been walking through, to which Starscream's ghost appeared and said, "And so will I."
Yay! Can never have too much Starscream's ghost, in my opinion. When you were saying that, though, Jason, I thought you were going to say that Optimus walked off into the distance and like put his fist in the air, and you hear like, "Don't you forget about me."
They should have actually just fired off the touch at that point. Actually, there's so many G1 references in this. I'm surprised they didn't actually license that. Didn't they get at the start of Titan's Return? They even got the narrator from the original G1 series. So many callbacks. There is one last thing that I want to talk about before we go away from this. Actually, no, there's two things. One, I'm not sure whether or not the writers were joking around too much, or if they were a little bit high in the writing room, or if it was just a little bit too crazy having Optimus Prime walk alongside talking to a character called Optimal Optimus. Because there was one point where he asked a question that ended in the word Optimus, and then Optimus said, "No, Optimal Optimus," and it's just like that's crazy.
I always thought that was stupid, though. But sorry, Max, you go, mate.
Sorry, yeah. I thought Optimus Prime coming in was a bad decision in the writer's part because he just immediately filled the role of Optimus Prime. Like he's almost exactly the same character. They
should never be following this path of mixing Beast Wars with, let's say, G1 for argument's sake. And I thought, if anything, I believe it was in the Beast Wars comics back in the day or something along those lines, but I remember a character who was basically an Optimal Optimus repaint called Primal Prime. And he had a much more fitting story that would have fit better in as that character, is that Primal Prime was essentially the Matrix given form. He was the Matrix incarnate. So he was the embodiment of every Prime that's ever had the Matrix. And so that to me makes more sense. Like that's whereas Optimal Optimus, as Jason said, it's a rhetoric nightmare. It's you know, like, yeah, but I don't know. I've always been strongly opposed to the mixture of Beast Wars with non-Beast era characters. I don't like the fact that they seem.
Have you really? Because can I just draw attention to the item that's on my screen share, which is your entrant for bot shots this week?
Well, you're going to eat your words in a minute, mate. I can tell you now, because you don't remember your Beast Wars cartoons if you don't know what this was a reference to.
It's still a mixture of Beast Wars and G1, but yeah, and also I don't remember my Beast Wars cartoons because I've never watched them. But yeah.
Well, there you go.
Anyway,
I'll explain it when you reveal it. Yeah.
Final thoughts. Power of the Primes, Max.
Sorry, Christopher, but I have to say, I think this entire trilogy's been objectively garbage. And it is
objectively
garbage.
The Transformers franchise, that this is what has been marketed as, you know, mature Transformers, and high quality storytelling, and it's been the complete antithesis of that.
I ask one question and one. No, that's not going to work.
This is the point
At
where
the end
Brad reveals he hasn't watched it.
Yes, no, I'm just saying. At the end of Combiner Wars, we had the characters look up at the stars and, oh dear, the Titans are coming. There's nothing at.
This was the end.
The end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it is the Prime Wars trilogy. So I doubt they'd chuck another one on the end of it because it's a trilogy. It's literally it's a mathematical thing.
Trilogy in 4 parts.
Yeah.
There's been trilogies before to become quadrilogies, sagas.
Yeah, but let's face it, that 4th one has always sucked so bad that nobody ever counts it as part of the original trilogy. Aliens.
You know what? I reckon the time is right for a sequel to The Matrix.
Yeah.
Aren't they doing one?
And some people like New Hope too. So
I think they're doing a TV series at least. I think there was.
No, I don't think they are. But I reckon the world needs Matrix 2.
Yeah, I think Jupiter Ascending sort of killed, or definitely put that back. But
yeah, but no. I mean,
back to the well.
It's been ages since we had the Matrix. Surely there's some sort of Matrix 2 floating around out there in the
or at least a spin-off, at least some kind of something in the Matrix world. You don't have to have Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne. Just something that's still the same sort of universe, the same sort of I don't know, but yeah. We want more of that. I think that's pretty clear. I don't think anybody would be opposed to a new one. That's for sure.
A new trilogy of the Oracle making cookies.
No. I just
little starry. Let's make some cookies.
I just think the Matrix was so good that maybe we should make a Matrix 2.
Oh, there's a lot bigger.
Well, what you can do.
I feel like I'm the only person who doesn't hate those movies.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you, Max.
Well, what you can do though is if you just need more of that Matrix action, if you watch the Terminator movies, it's basically the same story just at a different point in time. So
if you watch the Terminator movies in reverse, it makes a lot more sense. But, yeah.
Well, don't worry, they're going to keep trying to make them, and they'll keep screwing up the timelines.
They are.
By the end of
Arnie's already signed on.
Yeah, it'll tie into the original Matrix. Don't worry.
They actually got James Cameron along for the next one.
Oh yeah. The technology's not there yet to finish Avatar, so he's going to go and make a Terminator movie and completely wipe out the last
5 Avatar sequels that have been in development for 10 years.
Yeah.
He's left it too long. I've already forgot how awesome Avatar is, and I don't care anymore. I think, you know what I mean?
I forgot what Avatar was.
I remember it being really good, but it's been so long now that I'm like, I've got the DVD. I'll watch it sometime.
Right? It's about the technology. He's pushing 3D technology without the glasses, and that's what Avatar 2 will be. 3D technology without the glasses.
The thing with Avatar is highest grossing movie of all time. Can you give me a single quote from it?
It doesn't have a lightsaber or a Jedi in it.
No, I think Max nailed it with that.
You're not in Kansas anymore. This is Pandora.
Hey guys, sorry to interject here, but I feel like we may have gotten a little sidetracked at some stage.
Thank you, Chris, because I could go down in lines further. But anyway,
I was going to say, look, so before Brad quotes Terra Nova and tells us that it's a quote from Avatar, let's move on with Transformers.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Shall we move on? We do have a Bot Shots winner who is amongst us to talk about some photos
By default.
The greatest words in the English language. So, Chris, do you want to tell people what Bot Shots is? I'm kind of sick of telling everyone every week. How about you just start?
Yeah, not a problem, Jason. Well, Bot Shots is the TCCA's, basically the photography competition that the TCCA runs each week, where members of the group are encouraged to submit photographs of their Transformers off the shelf, so to speak, or out of box, out in the world, whether it be at work or in the garden or in the kitchen or whatever you want to do.
Perhaps surrounded by sparkling light.
Yeah, yes, well, indeed. Yeah, I've noticed from your previous indication here, Jason, that you I don't think you're aware of what this photo actually refers to, but I just want to throw it out there.
That's okay.
For non-Beast Wars watchers of the show, that it is actually a reference to an event in Transformers lore, so to speak. But yeah. Did I do it right? Is that what you would call the bot shots? Or
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's it.
So well done, Chris, on winning this week's competition and many previous weeks as well.
Please.
I really like it. I've got a lot of Transformers, not a lot of friends. And I think those two combined means that I've got a lot of time on my hands.
Regardless of that, it's always good to actually take the figures out into the garden, take them out into some nice natural surrounds instead of being under harsh white fluorescent lights or anything like that.
Indeed,
and
indeed.
Get a good look at their colors. Like taking things out into the garden, it really makes the colors pop as well.
Indeed, yes. It's a lighting thing.
It is. So well done.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Let's move on and talk about some news. Australia was the first site in the world, although they have started popping up in the US now, for Transformers Cyberverse, and there are already some Transformers Cyberverse figures on the shelves in Australia. They've started popping up in Walmart in the States as well. But we are number one. We were the first to get them. So I don't really have that much more to say about them. There's like 3 different bumblebees that are there on the shelf all at once, and blur.
Ew.
They look like the one-step changes. The vehicles, are they? Yep,
definitely. I've seen promo shots of the Cyberverse toys, and the ones I saw aren't as. Because I saw a lot of people screaming and haranguing the fact that, they look rubbish and all this sort of stuff. But I'm almost dead certain that those are your cheapo one-step, same crap that we get with every line that first comes out.
You see the Bumblebee down the bottom?
Yes.
That's Warrior.
Yes,
So,
that one's sort of the one that we'll probably be interested in.
Well, I do recall seeing the promo shots for the Warrior Shockwave. And I think it was maybe Megatron or something. And I remember seeing them at the time and thinking, hey, they remember the spider tank?
We've seen the pictures of the photos. Anyway, these are the ones that are out here. You can see a couple of little what are they called now? Are they Legion or Legends class? The little ones over to the right.
Yeah, these ones would be Legion because Legion, generation ones a bit more articulation.
Yep, so you can see the Bumblebee, and it looks like the arm of a Starscream off to right there. I'm just checking to see if there's... Nope, that's it. There's no other photos there. But so at the same time as these photographs emerged, Hasbro updated their website with official character shots of all the figures in...
Looks like the roster lineup.
Yeah, so it's
really
roll call. So let's check them out.
Yeah.
I think in general, reaction to these has been pretty good. Personally, I find there's a bit of an animated look to them, and I quite like that. I think if I think really hard about it, I almost wonder whether or not some of these designs were actually done by some of the comic artists and actually turned into some 3D models to be animated for the series. So I don't know. They look very dynamic. So we are of course looking at Blur there. If you can't tell from the lines on his head, I like the fact that his hands swap the black line for purple lines. I think that's quite a neat feature, and you can see a lot of sort of speed lines and everything like that. I quite like it.
It's very
looks like Blur.
All of these character portraits have only 3 fingers. 3
fingers and a thumb. They adhere to the Simpsons rule.
I love being a turtle.
Yeah. Here's Bumblebee.
Well, it's actually an old cartoon lore. It goes back to like Mickey Mouse days, you know? Yeah, 3 fingers and a thumb.
I mean, yeah, I get what you mean when you say that.
Seven seasons and a movie.
But there was the done by the comic artist, because that movie looks really heavily inspired by sort of 2010 era IDW design.
Goddamn Transformers. Yes, it's fine. I heard you, Max.
One thing that when I saw these images, one thing that really struck me and excited me about this series is the fact that there are a lot of characters here that I don't think anybody was expecting. I mean, we've seen like images of like Acid Storm, Slipstream, and what's that, Shadow Striker? There's a new character. Yeah,
I think she was in Timelines, and that was it. Yeah, I was going to bring it up after we've gone through them, but like, here's the thing: you've got all the Autobots that you'd expect in like a modern Transformers. You know, it's like your Hot
the
Rods,
usual suspects,
etc. Yeah, but then you go to the Decepticons, and sure, you got a few of the major ones, and then you've got these 2 obscure Seekers and this character that's only ever been in Timelines, and they're part of a main cast.
Yeah, and while we've got Starscream and Thundercracker, no Skywarp. But we do have Acid Storm and Slipstream.
Stop talking over the slideshow. I want to talk about the characters.
Can I say I just don't think Ratchet's doors are going to stay there for very long.
I needed that. I love the Riker comparison to that. It looks so much like Riker.
A lot of people hate Jack's mustache, but I kind of have to love it.
I reckon that's cool.
So do I. Yeah, I mean, mustaches are obviously the thing.
Look, of all the characters to give a mustache, so it's probably good that they gave it to this one and not this one.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
I do not need angsty teen Wingblade back again.
Oh, you think you can escape her? She's here to stay, mate.
No,
she will be the death of Transformers.
There is Acid Storm.
Okay, the thing with Acid Storm that I mean, I'm really happy to see him here because it's one of my favorites.
Are you really?
Yeah, but
obviously not. He's about to say what.
Acid Storm, he usually looks pretty decent. He's got the primary color green, and then the secondary is either yellow or purple. But they decided to go for yellow and purple. And it just kind of looks.
There is no pleasing some people.
it just looks like, just throw in both of his color schemes. And
well, can I just say that Acid Storm?
Max, did you not see in his character bio the reason for the green and the yellow is actually that he's from Australia?
Where does the purple come from?
Well, can I just say that the Acid Storm is by far my favorite Seeker. Surprisingly enough, he always has been. There is something about that character that I don't know. He's a very obscure, back page character, but he's awesome. But
they gave him a page.
I love that they just sort of keep inserting him everywhere. Like
I just like the fact that he looks like from the roster lineup of the 2 teams for this series. He looks like he might at the very least be a major player in the sort of the thugs of the cons.
I actually wonder if it looks like he might be the competent one.
Yeah, he kind of looks like he's the non-idiot of the Seekers, or but
apparently Slipstream is the leader of the Seekers in this, and not Starscream.
Who is? Sorry, Slipstream. Yeah, very interesting.
Let's keep on and have a look. Megatron kind of looks like a cranky old man, but sure.
His helmet looks small.
Now, how is this one not the leader of the Seekers or anything that she wants to be? Holy shit, get out of her way.
To be honest, I originally thought she was a gender-swapped lug nut.
Arachnid?
Yeah, I had this conversation with you, Max. Yeah.
No,
because I said to Max, "Who the hell is that?" Because I think Max posted the images in the group first, and I was like, "Who the hell is that chick?" And Max was like, "Lugnut," and I was like, "No, but Lugnut's a boy."
It just looked like Lugnut to me. I mean, we'd heard the.
I thought it might have been like Arachnid or something reimagined, but apparently she's
hearing the Shadow Striker name before in the context of his show.
Yeah, no, it turns out the name is on the photo.
Yeah,
but we're talking about the fact that this is pre-names on the photo. We just got the images at first, so we were just guessing at that stage. But everyone thought that was Lugnut.
Why were you assuming females? Clearly a goatee on its chin.
Sure.
Yeah, Shockwave's Shockwave. He rules. He always rules. I've never seen a crap Shockwave.
There's a couple of the characters that look like there's a couple of the characters that look sort of a bit light and somewhat sort of childish, right? Like, you know, Hot Rod and Bumblebee, perhaps. Optimus Prime looks quite imposing and, you know, very physically strong. Grimlock looks like a gruff old man and heavily armored and everything.
He
and
does. He looks like his new cup.
Yeah, then you get to like Shockwave, and like Shockwave looks ready for action.
Shockwave looks like, I don't know, edgy, you know, off Shockwave.
Yeah,
it's almost
face it, the
goth lines added to him.
The guy has one eye for a head. It's very difficult to make him look anything but what he looks like. You know what I mean? Like you can't give
a second eye on top of that, like just another little one.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's because when he actually receives his orders, he'll say "Aye, Captain," and then walk.
I do like the Fall of Cybertron, or the Fall of Cybertron, War of Cybertron sort of feel, just with the Energon lines and
honeycomb designs.
Yeah, I do like that.
Yeah. Slipstream, one of the other Seekers here. So you're saying Slipstream's the leader of the Seekers?
Well, okay, there was two things. So the original synopsis for the show said that Slipstream was the leader of the Seekers, but in the character bios said that Starscream was.
So someone just fucked up.
I feel like
repaints.
The show has like two time periods it's set in. So one is like the modern thing of Bumblebee and Windblade running away.
Or it could just be like an animated thing where they're jostling for leadership.
Are you saying it's like Lost?
I haven't watched Lost. But then the other one's like in the past with like Bumblebee recovering his memories. So I think it might be like Starscream's the leader in the past, and then the modern iteration of the Seekers has Slipstream as the head.
Can we talk about how busy Soundwave's design is?
Yeah. Rat that is. You know,
I'm not looking forward to this figure.
I like it. I like it.
Well, that's just going to be molded.
Excuse me.
With no paint.
You know what it reminds me of, though? It reminds me of the IDW Soundwave, how they added like the missile launchers to his shoulders and stuff.
Again,
and I
Brad
kind
doesn't
of
understand
like
what you say after you say the words IDW.
I do. Yeah, I heard fan art. It's all right. Keep going.
Yeah, picture G1 Soundwave, but on his shoulders they've put like two pods that are like missile launchers, and he still looks like Soundwave, but it just makes him look a little bit more badass, and I get that vibe from this image of Soundwave, so I'm pretty happy with that.
You know what I actually get from here? Looking at his knee, it looks like a reference to one of his G1 stickers.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, this does seem to be very heavily like, hey, you guys wanted the G1 reboot. Okay, you're welcome.
Well, let's face it, the Prime...
I think we've seen a good evolution of this art over the last year, because these designs first emerged about a year ago as like the so-called evergreen designs, and now then we heard about cyberverse and we heard about the plot, and we're like, yeah. And now today, like this reveal, the last couple of days, I reckon this has gone pretty well for Hasbro, really.
Yeah, everyone seems really keen. Like, I posted it in the that Make Transformers Awesome Again Facebook group, which is just like the saltiest place on the internet, and they actually really loved it. So,
yeah,
I think it puts to bed the rumors though that I originally heard when Cyberverse was first hinted at. I originally heard that it was going to sort of take place over various parts of Transformers history, which sounds like it still is. But I even heard that Beast Wars was going to be involved and stuff like that. But obviously not from the look of things.
Like at least maybe in further seasons, because they definitely they bring in more characters as time goes on. And like from what we see here, they're bringing in different elements of different eras of Transformers.
Yeah, you're right. RID started with a very small cast, and then they went mental, and there was like a new character every episode. So I guess there is a potential for this just being the core starter cast. You know,
I mean, I'm going to throw cold water on that. Like, I think people assumed from the name Cyberverse that it was a sort of a storytelling thing where they could actually look at anywhere within Transformers history. But I think what we actually have here now is it's a very distinct cast of characters, and we know that there is a premise for the series of Bumblebee trying to recover his memories. So I don't think they're gonna go dancing around between different eras and generations. Bearing in mind, this is actually the kids' show, right? This is not going to be the Generations storyline. The Generations storyline is going to be Fall of Cybertron or War for Cybertron, and so. As much as we might love these characters, we need to, or these designs, we've got to remember that they're going into a series of 10-minute animated episodes that makes up the first season of Cyberverse. They're not going to be particularly deep stories, but they still look like fun interpretations of characters that we know and love. So more power to them.
But I mean, I would think at this stage, if I was Optimus Prime, I mean, Bumblebee's losing his voice, he's losing his memories. The dude's a liability. Someone needs to put him.
Time to put him out to pasture and bring back.
Give Cliff Jumper a go. Jesus, you put him in Prime for one episode and he gets killed, brought back as a zombie. So
but that's because The Rock was too expensive to keep around.
Yeah, true.
That was borrowed time from the start.
It was. Shall we move on? We are going to see a lot more of Cyberverse in the coming weeks, especially with the toys coming out. I would anticipate that in the next few days, we are going to see some people going out and acquiring the toys. They have turned up at Big W. Also, Big W is having a big fuck off sale at the moment.
Holy shit, has that not been news this week?
Yeah. So Big W is selling Legends class figures for $5, Voyagers for $15, Power of the Primes Deluxes for $24, and Power of the Primes Voyagers for $45. If you're a little bit sneaky, you can sort of bluff your way past the checkout and say, well, it was in the $15 bin, and they'll just let you go. And
you wouldn't know anything about that, though, would you, Jason?
I don't know what you're talking about. Big W is having a massive sale at the moment, and they are the place where Cyberverse toys have turned up. So head on in and see if you can get yourself a bit of a bargain.
Head there tomorrow.
Speaking of getting yourself a bit of a bargain, let's go in the opposite direction and talk about this dude. Wallets cried out in pain everywhere around the world this week as the price for Takara Tomi's masterpiece, MP43 Masterpiece Beast Megatron, was revealed to be costing 35,000 yen. Now, if you haven't done the currency conversion on that, I'll give you a minute. We're not going to go anywhere. No, it's 315 US dollars.
Yeah, otherwise,
that's about 4,000 Australian.
It's about $1,000 for us. Yeah.
So he is more expensive than Dinobot. He's taken on the price, taken on the mantle of most expensive masterpiece immediately.
Maybe most expensive Transformer as well.
No.
Like
official maybe.
No, yeah. I think you find some of the recent reissues, like the Fort Max repaint, is probably a little bit higher up there.
I have to check that now.
Yeah. Go for it. Anyway, Masterpiece Megatron, super expensive. Has soured a lot of people on getting the figure, because a lot of people have said that they don't really have a connection to the figure or the character, because a lot of us are G1 fans. They do think that he looks cool, but they're not willing to fork out $315 for it.
It's a bit steep. I mean, it's a great looking figure. It looks fantastic. And I was actually considering it. I was excited about it. But, I mean, that is a lot of money for one Transformer, man. It's almost obscene. Yeah,
well, Jason, you've said in past episodes that you don't necessarily have that connection to the character, but it's a good looking figure and you'd be looking at getting it. Has this turned you off?
It's given me a wobble.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. It's given me a wobble, but I'm probably still going to get it.
Yeah.
For me,
but Brad,
I have not pre-ordered him. I'll be clear.
There's no rubber ducky. That's what upsets me about it. They have a toothbrush
on the shelf.
430 Australian dollars. No rubber ducky.
No rubber ducky.
What are have any accessories been made? Like, he doesn't even come with a trailer. Like, what's
trailer? No, he comes with a toothbrush.
I don't understand why.
Because there's an episode where he's standing there talking to someone and he's brushing his teeth, right? Yeah, I get that. Yeah, but apparently the major. Yeah, exactly. Apparently, the major gimmick with him is the fact that you can remove his armor so that he appears, as he does in the first episode of Beast Wars, in his proto form, which to me is just like big deal. Like it
would have cost them basically nothing to do.
Exactly, it's just making him detachable. Like in
the promo pics we've seen, like from magazine scans or what have you, they're treating the armor parts as his accessories.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like that's why they've sort of, absolutely gypped us on the accessories. Basically, is that's their big thing. Is like, oh, you can take his armor off. Like what you're saying is you can disassemble this Transformer so that he's slightly smaller. That's
Decepticons in Age of Extinction.
Oh right, okay.
All of his parts fly off and he turns into a dinosaur.
I can see people trying to rationalize this figure, but honestly, I don't think there is any way to rationalize that price tag. I'm sorry, it's $430.
Well, I'm a living, breathing example of that because I love the character. I've very seriously considered buying this masterpiece, but and I don't buy a lot of masterpieces. I'm a predominantly chug collector, but this. Thing, man, like I've got the Generations, what do you call it? The anniversary Beast Wars Megatron, where they sort of, slightly redid the original one. And that's a great figure. And I'm thinking like, is this thing like $1,000? Like, is that worth getting a slightly cooler looking version of that?
Okay, well, you want just a general Beast Wars Megatron, go buy that Perfect Effect one. It's like $150. And it'll probably be better, right?
Yeah.
If you absolutely need this design, wait for the knockoff. Yeah, and because they're charging.
This does not reflect the views of the TCCA.
No, it does. It really does because I don't, and I argue this is a bigger backlash.
Yeah, and if people not buying this figure hurts Takara, and then learn the lesson and make things that people can afford. Because I understand that inflation is a thing and prices of manufacturing go up. You can't tell me that the manufacturing prices have gone up this much since a figure like Magnus, right? Because Magnus is a larger figure than this, and sure, this has probably got a higher parts count. But
engineering,
considering the size of the two figures, it's going to be pretty comparable.
I'm going to call it best-selling Beast Transformer they'll have ever done.
People are going to buy it. I don't know.
I reckon people are going to buy it hand over fist.
Yeah, that's it. There is a large, portion of the market.
Dinosaur hand. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you've got a disposable income, you're not really going to care that this is obscenely higher price than most other masterpieces before it. If you love the character that much, and if you're a masterpiece collector, they're going to buy it anyway.
And it is a far closer reach than the Prime 1 Studio statue still, so...
Oh, but that thing, man, don't even remind me of it. That thing looks so awesome. It's burnt into my brain.
It is funny that those two, they've all been revealed around the same time as well.
Yeah, what'd you say, Max? It was $415 Aussie?
$430 US dollars. And
$315 US dollars, $430.
Yeah. And I checked it against that Grand Max, and this is the most expensive Transformer.
Yeah, I've looked at two local sellers for this, and they're a good $60 to $80 more than that on top of that. So it's just
$430 was the cheapest I could see it.
Yeah, I don't know. As good as it looks, I don't think I can do it. I just
there's no excuse for them to be charging this much. It's
I don't think it is price gouging. I think Masterpiece is actually going in a bit of a direction where the figures are actually going to end up a little bit more expensive. Like we're seeing we're seeing those figures come out with more articulation, more detail in them. We know the paint on this figure looks amazing, and that stuff is not free. It's going to cost money.
That's right. I won't be there to join the ride.
Yeah, I mean, sure, it's
you don't have to be.
I know.
It's definitely going in the direction it's going to be more expensive, but I don't see, even with all of his features, and I've touted the praises of his figure as it does look incredible. It is a perfect figure. Like from everything I can see here, it looks literally perfect. But $430 is not enough of an asking price. It is too high an asking price, even for perfection.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, that's fine.
I'm just glad to be a chug collector.
let's move on to another Takara Tomy figure that made a few headlines this week. We're getting another Unicron. So we are getting an encore Unicron from Takara Tomy in the Micron Legend color scheme, which is the original Armada Unicron that was released. He does look like he's got his Minicon embedded deep into his chest there. And is it me, or does he only have 2 lines in his wings? I thought he had 3 on. Maybe it's only got 2.
No, the animation. I've got the same one. Well, I've got the original one, and the animation in the cartoon and in the comics has 3. But the toy has 2 for some reason.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's just a transformation thing.
It probably is, because it can turn into a full circle if they're quarter.
Yeah, it forms like a ring, like Saturn around the figure. So yeah.
So we understand that our good friend John Ryan has already gone off the deep end and pre-ordered about a shed load of these.
Yeah. He's bankrolled Hasbro and Takara for like the next 10 years, I think, with the amount he would have ordered straight away.
Look, I'm just saying that Hasbro and Takara do tend to actually have John on speed dial when they want to do a Unicron, just to gauge how he's feeling about it.
Hey,
John, this one has a new hat.
Alter the same figure for 20th time.
I'm telling you, he's there.
One thing he didn't look into was the fact that Toys R Us and a lot of other local stores are still swamped with the Platinum Edition one that just come out a couple of months ago. So it's going to.
I've never seen the Platinum Edition Unicron at any Australian stores. What do you?
Me neither.
I don't think it was ever released. I swear it was never released.
How can you say it was swamped then?
Oh, it's a joke.
It's called irony.
No one seemed to really buy the Platinum Edition one.
Iracron? Nope.
I don't know why though, because the Platinum Edition one was by far the. Wasn't that the one that was G1 colors?
Yeah.
I don't know why that was more popular.
Well, it wasn't released here for one. So I do think you're right, though. I don't think it was very popular because apparently Hasbro dumped a bunch of them super cheap on the market around Asia about 6 to 8 months ago, and we haven't really seen them coming out, sort of super cheap flooding the market yet. But that could still happen, right?
It's a possibility. $20 Jetfires were a thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, exactly, and like $15 Voyagers or a thing. So like,
or it could be like not. I mean, there's collectors like John who love the character and have to have like every version of him and stuff. But then again, like I've got a Unicron, I've got the Armada, the original Armada one that was just it's sort of G1 colors, but it's got like clear plastic bits and stuff.
That's this one, isn't it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same, except it was the original issue of it. But
you haven't got it from the future, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, but the thing is, for someone like me, is like I've been offered all different types of Unicrons. Like there's the famous the black version from Energon and stuff like that. And for collectors like myself, like like I don't need more than one of that character. Like I've got a Unicron I don't need any more, which is why I think there would be big gaps in that market for that character. You know, like I don't need multiple Unicrons.
I don't think you're the target market for this. I think
John.
I think the target market for this is not John either, because John already has this version. But the target market, and this is the case that we see this all the time with Masterpiece reissues as well, is it's a good way for people who actually want to get into collecting these figures to actually get in on that ground level without actually having to pay hundreds of dollars above the retail price for a figure that's been out of production for a while. And you have to do this if you're Takara to just sort of keep new collectors coming in and keep a little bit of blood flowing around the collecting scene. Like, you have to reissue these figures.
And if they bump up the price while they do it, well then...
Well, you can bump the price up a little, right? You know?
And I
guess...
Like, yeah,
sorry, Max, go on, man.
We were talking about, the price of MP Beastars Megatron. Well, this thing's, what is it, 20,000? Yeah, 20,000 yen. Right, so that's...
About 200.
A bit more than 200, I'd say.
About 200.
US.
Oh, sorry, US.
Going, yeah, so it's 245 Australian dollars for Armada Unicron, which realistically is just Takara bumping up the price again.
Well, it could also be a collector's thing. Like the version I've got is notorious. Like, mine's fine. It's in good nick, and it's 100%. Oh, I'd say
out of your mouth to be but.
well, I'd say 95% complete in the sense that it hasn't got these little missiles that shoot from the bottom of it, and apparently, like, nobody has those missiles. Like, they are impossible to get, and you basically be better off getting somebody with a 3D printer to get you some. So maybe it's something like that. People just want a complete collector's sort of Unicron rather than, the bits and bobs that's left over from the years of Armada and Energon.
Question: why does no one have the missiles?
I don't know, but I've tried to get some, and nobody has those friggin' missiles, man. Like, I don't know whether the guys at the stores were just firing them off before they sold them. Or
people have lost the missiles, or were they just not in the box because of like safety reasons?
It could be a safety thing. I mean, it's the same reason we never saw a Transformers Prime breakdown outside of Takara. The Hasbro one never got released because it had missiles that didn't pass the safety test. So maybe it was something like that. I don't know. But I do know for that particular one that they're reissuing, the new Unicron coming out, try to get missiles for that guy. It's impossible. John laughed at me when I asked him if he had any. So
that's fairly common with Hasbro not to have like firing missiles and stuff. But this is the Takara reissue, so I would assume that it's going to happen.
Yeah. The Japanese really don't care about safety and toys. So
I don't think
let's hope that they.
That's really the way that's frames, but sure. I'm just checking the stats. Japan did just go dark on the podcast live stream.
Another thing is also, Armada is almost 2 decades old now. At what point do they stop just reissuing the same thing and be like, hey, maybe we should make a new Unicron? Just maybe.
Well, it's a guaranteed hit. You know what I mean? Like, I know a lot of people who are just always chasing Unicron, so I'm sure somebody in there, with who's got the finger on the pulse over there is like, well, if we're going to go with a reissue, why not the big guy,
Yeah.
We got robbed. We've been robbed of a movieverse version, and how much of him turned up in Power of the Primes? Just his head still? Or was there more body to him?
Well, we got the Gaia Unicron, which was the Transformers Prime Unicron. I'm pretty sure only Takara. Maybe not, but I've got a Takara Gaia Unicron, and he's basically a Voyager
He turns into
Unicron.
a giant version of his own face.
Yeah, he turns into his own head, but he also can be separated, and he makes armor for Prime Optimus or Prime Megatron. But he's a great Unicron, but he was probably the most recent Unicron we've seen. But you're right, though. I mean, we got for some reason Primus in the last night reissued as Cybertron, but no Unicron.
Hmm.
Maybe they might have been, saving that because in the assumption that they'd be able to do a proper movie style Unicron for the sequel, and then The Last Night didn't do so well.
Well, isn't there a third-party Unicron coming out that's like mental? Like it's going to be like the most incredible.
No. So there was a
It's the size of a door, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That never came out, and it was just a big shell former. So it was entire panels.
Was it a shell former or a shelf warmer?
Can't have been a shelf warmer because it didn't.
It would have broke the shelf. Yeah, it would have broke the shelf in half.
Two separate third-party companies have tried to, create a replacement for that, but instead of just, actually taking, trying to make a proper updated Unicron, they're just gonna no, let's just remake this cancelled Beast Wars figure, which is a terrible-looking figure. So we want to remake that instead of.
You know what I want? What? I want someone to make a little mini Cybertron moon for this Unicron to hold, put it in the right scale so they can eat it.
He does come with a moon. He does come with a moon.
Does he have to bend over for you to get it?
He's got a. Hang on, I've got it here. I'll show you.
Doesn't he come with a mini con who looks like a moon in alt mode?
Yeah,
it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah, it's like, it's not Cybertron's moon, but it is a moon that attaches to his ring. Or
I want it to be Cybertron's moon because I want him to eat it, not for the moon to be his mini con that he hangs around and buds.
You can make him eat that if you want. If you really use your imagination. That's. Oh Lord, no, it's a cool little gimmick actually. I like the way it sticks on the ring on the outside. It looks like it's in orbit. But
I hate things that stick on the ring.
So much bleach.
Shall we move on? I think we've talked about Unicron for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think we paid our respects to the Chaos Bringer.
Yeah. No, we've kept him away for another 6 months. All right. Look at this. What is this that we are looking at? What do you think?
Another reissue for some reason.
It is a reissue of Starscream. This one's a little bit different, though. Look at those fists.
What's going on there?
So Seekers don't usually have fists with 5 mil peg holes.
No, they do not.
And but there is one that does.
He's got a Megatron gun.
Yeah, there is one that does have have fists with holes in them quite famously, and that is the Takara TF Collection book reissue version of Starscream. And this is the forthcoming Walmart reissue of Starscream, which does appear to be drawn from that mold. He's got long missiles instead of short ones, and looks pretty freaking awesome. So we've seen today there's been a little bit of news come out that there's more Walmart exclusive G1 Transformers coming out. Now, we talked about Hot Rod's box and some of the differences on it a couple of weeks ago, and you can see the same thing happening with this box up the top. You can see the transformation steps simplified up the top. I reckon the artwork looks a little bit poorly reproduced on the front of this box, but
yeah.
But fair enough. And so inside you can see the tail fins, the missiles, and the Megatron gun, and which is something that only came out with the TF Collection issue. So coming soon to Robot Kingdom for ordering, and a Walmart near you if you're in America. That is not the only thing that Walmart announced today is for a reissue.
What a segue. Well done, mate.
It's the big green guy is coming as well.
Hey.
Look, if you want some G1 Constructicons, you could do a lot worse than actually buying some official reissues. There's Starscream.
Well, it's been about 30 seconds since we've seen a Devastator release of some kind, so
third parties don't count. And of course, there's also some mini bots coming out. So we see Outback, Tailgate, Bumblebee, and Swerve. Interesting choices if you're going to do mini bot reissues, but there you have them. So so these guys are apparently packed 8 to a box. So you could buy a box and get 2 sets of mini bots. But these are apparently due for release this month, and they are showing up on Robot Kingdom now. Ready for pre-order. You can see the Robot Kingdom. You can see the Robot Kingdom watermark over this image. These images appear to have come from somewhere else, but the Robot Kingdom watermark for this one, I think this is actually from the Takara reissue gift set image. I'm not sure, but look, it's got Hasbro branding on it. I had a quick look through Robot Kingdom and I couldn't actually find Devastator and the mini-bots on there, but people are saying that they are there already and they're up for pre-order. So there were a number of exciting differences with the Hot Rod reissues, so it's going to be interesting to see what the what's hidden inside the box for these new reissues.
Yeah, because the Hasbro one, did the Hasbro one come with guns now, or was that just Takara? Or was that just combinables?
I don't think the G1 Devastator did have any weapons, did it? Or did he have a gun? I don't know.
There's a big gun.
I don't collect G1. Yeah.
Right on that image, there's a big gun in his hand.
Yeah, sorry, that image is about 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter on my screen at the moment.
It's somewhat low res. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, I think it must be good for G1 collectors. I have no opinion of it. I don't collect G1, but I think, if you are a G1 collector, you know, reissues are a good thing. So good.
Well, you've probably already got Devastated, but it'd be good to have pick up
Max. Spare parts.
It's another G1 reissue. There's nothing else to really say about it. It's going to give people a chance to get it. Beyond that,
I think that's the most important thing about them, because the encore releases and the commemorative editions, they are getting a bit long in the tooth. So I think it is nice to see something getting new versions of these figures out there. The one thing that I will say about them is that they are quite expensive. The Hot Rod reissue runs into the 50s or 60s of dollars, I think.
Wow.
Personally, I've never seen the appeal of these, but I see plenty of people who do and who really seem to legitimately enjoy them. So I'm glad for whoever's actually getting the opportunity to.
It's a nostalgia thing, man. I think you need to have a certain amount of heavy nostalgia attached to G1 to be really excited by this kind of thing. And I grew up in the G1 era, I love G1 and I always will, but as far as collecting goes, I don't really see the appeal, but I do have a lot of close friends who are absolutely fanatical about that period of time and the actual sort of vintage nature of the toys and the parts and stuff like that. So I can understand the appeal, there is, but it swirls around nostalgia. It sort of evokes something in people that brings them back to when they were little kids, So
I think there'll be a lot of people who buy these just to sort of bring back the toys that they used to have as kids. I don't think these reissues are going to be especially important to keep mint in box. Like you can see with some of the Walmart stock already, like they're sending out things where the boxes are a bit damaged and stuff. So I don't think they've been I don't think the boxes have been super high quality manufactured, but it might just be fun to bring the figures out of the box.
We're not expecting people to keep them sealed in the box, are they?
Well, you're not buying this to open your original sealed one.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe it's for people who have the original Devastator in box and will never open it for financial reasons, but want to have him on display. So they'll have the box in the background, they'll get the reissue and chuck him on display in a glass case and it'll look great. It'll look just like G1 in perfect brand new condition. So I can see that.
That's the 5 people in the world that have a G1 box.
I think you might be underestimating that, Brad.
Yeah, it does have nostalgia factor into it, but I always feel like Transformers has that nostalgia, element to it to a degree, beyond really any other franchise.
Yeah, it's built on it. It's the foundations are nostalgia. That's what the whole thing is cultivated from.
It doesn't really seem to be any other franchise I can think of that is so heavily rooted in nostalgia that they're able to continually do.
How long? How long do you reckon it's going to be before they pull the trigger on an Optimus Prime?
Pull the trigger.
Oh, it's coming. You mean
I don't see why not.
Why just introduce a new character in his place?
No, G1 Optimus Prime.
I don't mean pull the trigger on killing him.
Thanks, Hot Rod.
Release the issue of Optimus Prime in the Walmart series.
Yeah, okay. So I thought you meant like in terms of his place within the franchise, because I was talking about franchise history. No, I mean that has to come soon because
I'm surprised they haven't done it already.
It's one of the most, or it's perhaps the most significant action figure of all time. Like it's going to get reissued again and again.
I would have thought it would have come before Devastator, but
I would, I'm actually surprised they haven't done it sooner. But yeah, fair enough.
Well, it's the big three, isn't it? It's Optimus Prime, Devastator, and Soundwave. They're the G1 Holy Trinity, aren't they? Like, so yeah.
I imagine
I think Starscream's up there.
They're probably just assuming that a lot of people already own a G1 Optimus Prime.
It's also probably quite true
because I think it was fairly well distributed in G1 itself.
Yeah, and I imagine it would be hard to get a complete G1 Devastator. Not impossible, but far more difficult than.
I don't think it's hard, but you end up with parts. You have to collect parts from all over the place.
Yeah,
the parts are really easy to get a hold of because Devastator was well produced. It's just that there's so many parts.
The G1 parts market is insane, man. A Queensland member, Nick Brooker, he has one of the most fantastic G1 collections I've ever seen. A lot of them very rare, very expensive. And he pulled out I was at his house one night, he pulled out a box of parts, like a tackle box of parts. And he told me that box was worth like 3 times more than his entire G1 collection because some of those parts are so friggin' hard to get, like the original G1 bits and pieces, and there's a whole other world there, man. Like
there's stuff like, what is it with Hound? There's like his engine block or something like that. One of his attachments.
Basically, anything that could fall off a G1 Transformer and get lost is worth quite a lot of money to a G1 collector. So yeah.
All right, I think we might move on. There is a new fans project figure got announced this week. I think Brad, you were the one that commented in the group saying fans project isn't dead.
I mean, they're awfully close.
Yes. So fans project Severo Core. What is this figure? So you said Grimlock in the show notes.
Yeah, so on the left is Constructo Core, and on the right is Severo Core. So Construction Core is just done up in construction type colors, and then Severo Core is done in Grimlock colors.
I see.
You know the old Fans, because Fans Project had their Corebot gimmick back when Fans Project was a thing, where it was sort of their take on Power Masters, and a central figure for that line was Steel Core. And Steel Core wasn't really based on any Transformer. It was just Fans Project's original thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had like a subscription service, like a membership type thing, where if you remember, they would continually put out extra add-on pieces for Steel Core.
Man, how have I not known this?
I mean, this was a couple years ago, and that was basically Fans Project's big thing, like their flagship figure, which is why they kept on adding on to it and promoting it. But then,
so this is a new core.
Yeah, so these two are both just repaints of Steel Core.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm assuming this is all they can really afford to do, given that Fans Project hasn't really sold anything in the past couple of years.
Yeah, okay.
They did do a Dino King, but I think that sold really poorly because they weren't able to manufacture it at a competitive price. And their Function X line, which was for Headmasters, sort of fell off in terms of quality a bit.
Yeah, look, I was really up on the Function X line in the early days of it, but I trailed off around the middle, and I know they got up to like 9 or 10.
Yeah, I think they got all the sort of base, headmasters you'd expect done, and then went off and did.
I vaguely remember that Dino King you were talking about, Max, and I remember it being pretty good. I can't remember much about it.
They are trying to make a comeback, I think. Between this and their redecoing Dino King into Monstructor. So
yeah, it makes sense because they were repaints of each other. So yeah,
I guess they're trying to get back on their feet financially so that they can continue making, brand new molds, designs.
They do seem to be suffering though, don't they?
Yeah, I guess it was just a few releases that just didn't go down very well for them.
I'd be surprised if Fans Project these days is actually the same people involved in it. There's probably some higher ups, but I mean, we know designers sort of flit from one manufacturer to the next. So
I think Fans Project and Make Toys had a close relationship behind the scenes. There was sort of talk of that a while back. So maybe sort of Make Toys getting involved and trying to resurrect it a bit.
Maybe, yeah.
Make Toys is really successful right now.
Do we have a release date for a Severo call?
No, there's no details other than this is something that is happening.
Well, that is indeed something that is happening. Let's move on to the next story.
It's etched into a tombstone somewhere.
That's the thing. People really, really they're really big fans of when it came out, but it came out in like 2013 or 14, something like that. This is an early third-party piece, but for its time, it was amazing. But all the feedback I've seen has said people who own this figure has said that this was a great piece, but third-party technology has progressed since then, and so
it's stuck in the old days.
Yeah, it's just two repaints of an old figure.
Yeah.
You just need to look at like Hercules and compare him to Gravity Builder to see how far we've come.
Yeah, exactly right.
People used to love that thing.
Yeah, and Hercules is a great figure. It was just he was the first of his kind, so it's
and it's still probably a good figure. It's just an outdated
one. Yeah, that's it. They used it as a building block to make so much better stuff now. So yeah.
All right, let's move on. Last story. Takara Tomy has revealed their own Rekka and Nemesis Prime, which, given that Takara Tomy is just sort of repackaging existing existing Power of the Primes figures, it seems likely that these figures, at least Nemesis Prime, has turned into an Amazon exclusive. I'm not sure about Rekka. Well, it has, but not sure about Rekka. But if you can't get an Amazon exclusive Nemesis Prime, maybe getting the Takara Tomy version will be the next best thing for you if you have contacts in Japan who can procure the items for you.
I was really, really excited about this Nemesis Prime. So far, Power of the Primes hasn't really impressed me. I've only got a few figures. Like I recently got Rodimus Unicronus, and he's all right. But as I said to you in the group, Jason, I much prefer just to have the inner deluxe scale figure on display because the leader class just doesn't do it for me. But I was really looking forward to the Nemesis Prime. But then they showed close-ups of the head, and I don't know what they're trying to pull off with that, but I think it's really weird, and but it doesn't. It's whatever it's supposed to be. It just looks
Prime.
He looks like a Power Ranger basically, and it's not the look I want in a Nemesis Prime, and I was immediately put off by that. So now my interest level has gone from like this to a peak to just dropping off for this figure, because I know it seems silly, it is just a head sculpt, but let's face it, that makes up a big part of the aesthetic of the figure.
Oh, that's what your eyes are drawn to. Like, it's sort of...
I actually like it.
It's trying to be...
I think it's one of those love-hate things.
Yeah, Max, what were you trying to say?
Sorry, it's trying to be an Optimus Prime head, and it's also trying to be a Decepticon. And sort of meeting halfway in between.
Yeah.
It does... I don't know. It
do one or the other.
A bit of a callback to the last Autobot from the G1 comic, whose face.
Oh yeah,
Logo.
Yeah. No, see, for me, it's like, okay, as a Decepticon enthusiast, if you want to call it that, like I love the character of Nemesis Prime, And the reason I love Nemesis Prime is because he is so blatantly an evil Optimus Prime. He's a black Optimus Prime with con logos instead of Autobot logos, and that's what we want from the character. We don't want a weird interpretation. Like, that's what makes that character cool. You know what I mean? He's an evil clone of Optimus Prime. He's the Decepticon Optimus Prime. So it's I don't know. I'm probably being too picky, but I was immediately put off by that face because it doesn't look like Optimus Prime, which I think. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to differentiate the characters. They don't want just a straight, blatant repaint because they've been guilty of that in the past, and it does make them, villainous in nature from the fandom, But yeah, I just wasn't a fan of the new design, and it's kind of put me off chasing down the character. I was hoping that the original imagery where they showed him with like the Vorpal saber and iconography from the Armada Nemesis Prime, which was actually like the first Nemesis Prime beyond Scourge from RID. That's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for a sort of Prime Wars trilogy, take on that character. But yeah, I've sort of been put right off it, to be honest. It doesn't appeal to me anymore. So yeah, maybe Takara will do something different with it, but it doesn't look like it.
How about Rekgar?
Well, it's not going to come in a fancy package like the Toys R Us, the Blast Off exclusive we seen last week. So you won't feel as bad.
No, I'm not so sure about that. So we know that Nemesis Prime is an Amazon exclusive. So Rekgar is actually a Walgreens exclusive in the US.
Oh, okay.
He might just be on normal blister packaging. I don't know. He might also be in Blast Off style packaging.
And no, it's just another way to get that groove mold. A lot of people haven't got it, couldn't get it. Yeah. How readily available this will be a different story, I suppose. But
so he does turn into a motorbike, doesn't he?
Yeah. He does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. That's Rekgar, isn't it? Like, that's... Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to use a mold for it, yeah. Get two. Have him ride around on another one like in the G1 movie, and Bob's your uncle.
Not sure if the Combiner Wars mold can ride itself.
Oh, you've got to make it happen, mate. If I can make a Combiner Wars Shockwave ride a RID fracture in motorbike form, then you can do anything, mate.
Words were coming out there, but I'm not sure what they were about. Anyway, so price-wise, Rekgar is 2,800 yen, about $25 US. Nemesis Prime is 8,000 yen, so about $72 US. That seems about in line with the Australian price of these guys. And they will be released in December. So it's possible that some local retailers will import the Takara versions of these figures instead of the exclusive Amazon and Walgreens versions. We'll see. So it is also possible that Amazon may still choose to allow Australians to purchase Nemesis Prime from them. We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
All right, that is it for the news. Let's if you really want to see, there's me trying to find these mini bots on Robot Kingdom. Let's come back to things, and it's time to talk new acquisitions. Brad, do you want to go first?
I've removed myself from the run sheet.
No, that's why I'm picking it.
At this point in time, I've hit two cataclysms in collecting. One, space. I've got the KO Megatron. I've got the Beast Wars Masterpiece figures and all that just shoved in front of Starscream and the rest of the MPs. I've just completely out of space whatsoever for collecting, and my disposable income has pretty much ceased to exist. So any figures I'm getting at the moment, there's nothing at retail I'm looking at getting really collector-wise. There's a couple of figures. I'm going to go to Big W tomorrow and look for a couple of Legends and that for the young fella to put in his toy box. But apart from that, I'm sort of off collecting at the moment. I've got one more Legends class War in Pocket figure that should be here for next week. I'll discuss. But apart from that, my collecting has ceased for the foreseeable future. So it's going to make this little area boring for me because I'll have nothing to talk about.
Max, you've also got nil next to yourself.
Max is on mute.
Max has so got nil next to himself so much he's muted himself.
I just bumped the button.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, I have nothing. I have a figure, but it's a legend, and I haven't opened it.
Ah.
Fun times.
At least tell us what it is.
Yeah, I thought it was weird, but I figured he just didn't want to tell us.
I got the Slash from Power of the Primes, except
that's why you want to tell us.
I got the Japanese one because it was cheaper.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
Obviously before January 1st.
January
I
1st.
believe you might mean July the 1st, but sure.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, shipped it from HLJ about a month ago, so I thought it actually got lost in the post, but rocked up this afternoon.
Better late than never.
Indeed.
Chris, you got a few.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I mean, I've been going mental with collecting in the last couple of months, and too many to talk about. Obviously, from the bot shots photo, you can tell I got Ghost Starscream. I've been chasing him for years. He's been a grail of mine, and the reason he was a big one for me is because that one in the photo is the official version, which was the reason it was so bloody hard to get the official version is I looked him up on the wiki in the toys section, and apparently he was only available as one of the mail away exclusives, which doesn't make him impossible to get, but it just a lot harder. But being part of that Chug Seeker line, there was a lot of KOs, and a lot of people. I mean, I've spoken to collectors who assumed that the KO was the only Ghost Starscream available from that line. So I was happy to get him. But yeah, the two I'll narrow it down to is just recently I got this is DNA Arashi. You've heard me on the podcast a few times, preach the awesomeness of the DNA Susanoo, which is the third-party masterpiece bludgeon. So this is the third-party masterpiece Bonsaitron. So it's sort of like a callback to the Revenge of the Fallen bludgeon that Susanoo was based on, was immediately repainted into a Bonsaitron, and this is pretty much the same thing. So I won't spend too much time on him because I've talked about Susanoo at great lengths before, but basically he comes with he's sort of a minor retool. He's got different armor. They've improved a lot of the joints and stuff. They actually come the box comes with a replacement set of shoulder joints for Susanoo. I never really had a problem with the shoulders on Susanoo, so I haven't bothered replacing him. As usual with DNA, if you pre-ordered him, you get a face swap. So there's different faces available. I can't really get a good shot of it there, but pretty cool. Just different sort of samurai masks, yeah. Different weapons, different sort of things. But I'll just shorten it by saying that he's exactly the same as Susanoo, just a little bit more polished. He's got all the same articulation, detail, fantastic figure. And if you are a fan of Susanoo, he's definitely one to get because he's just a different version of Susanoo, basically. So yeah, I was really happy with him. They look great together on display. And the other big guy that I thought I'd mention, especially now that Power of the Primes has released all the Terracons and everyone's showing off their Power of the Primes Abominus. This is the
better one.
Yeah, this is Unique Toys, I think it is, Auden. So this is third-party Abominus. And yeah, he's been around for a while, so I won't go on about him. I'm pretty sure anybody who's interested already knows about him. But yeah, I held, as the club's Queensland rep, I held a TCCA meetup a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, we were sort of passing around Transformers and stuff, and one of the Queensland members, Matthew Bilby, he brought this guy along to show off. and he actually had him separated into his component parts, and I was actually just really impressed. Like, I've never been a huge fan of the character of Abominus or the Terracons. I've never disliked them, but there's, compared to the Combaticons or the Predacons, I was never really that into them. But I was just astounded by the quality of the characters, the paint apps, the just really nice figures to hold and play with, and they just look good no matter how you had them. And I was that impressed. And basically Matthew turned around and said, "Oh, you like him, do you?" Yeah, he was like, "You like him, do you?" I was like, "Yeah, he's pretty good." He's like, "Do you want him?" Like, yeah, I think I do. So I've done pretty well lately. I think I'm pretty blessed with my collection at the moment. I've been really beefing up my Unicronian display, and between Jason and Max, I've actually just beefed it out. Like, I got a Henkei Galvatron off Max, and Jason brought me back the Cyclonus Armada box set from the UK, and that coupled with all the other stuff, it's looking really good. Got some really heavily G1 movie themed display happening there, and looking forward to the future, because me and Matthew Bilby have actually started a custom project where we're working on a Combiner Wars Galvatronus, but what we want to do is use Titan's Return Scourges as the limbs, sort of make a very Galvatron sweep themed combiner. So that'll be fun too. So we'll be meeting up a few times over the next few months and putting our heads together to see how we can make that happen. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, sounds like an awesome idea.
I think what you said about Unique Toys Auden is quite true. Like, that figure has been around for, I feel like it's been around for at least a couple of years. But I feel like Unique Toys in general has sort of been cruising a little bit below the radar in the third party world, and it's only in the last sort of 5 or 6 months people are just like, oh shit, have a look at what these guys have done. Like, they've suddenly, their stuff's become quite popular. And
it's true. I've always been aware of their presence in the third party world, but it just seems to be that recently I've gone, oh, hang on a second, these guys have got some good stuff. And they've sort of I've slept on them. But recently I'm like, hey, wow, I've actually, after getting Auden, I want to have a closer look at, because another thing Matthew brought around to the meetup was, I can't remember what they call it, but it was their version of Quick Switch, Six-Shot Sun. And that thing was fantastic. I mean, obviously I exclusively collect Decepticons, but that thing, I had it in my hand. I was thinking, maybe I should get this guy, and trying to justify it in my head, like, well, he's Six-Shot Sun and I've got 6 shots, so maybe, but there is some great stuff out there, and I really wish I sort of paid attention when they were coming, pardon me, when they were first coming out. So yeah, you're dead right about that. I think they are getting slept on a little bit.
I feel like, I mean, that's the thing, is that they're not fans toys, and they're not make toys, and they're not MMC, and so I feel like those three sort of take up all of the oxygen in the room when it comes to talking about third parties, and sort of muscle some of the others out. And it's nice to see a little bit of love for Unique Toys. Yeah,
especially to me, I think it's just it's topical, because you like, immediately when I got him is when Hasbro has basically dished out the official Terracons and the official Power of the Primes Abominus. And I know it's completely unfair to compare a far more expensive third-party version to the official. But I mean, it's strange, because I've got friends who have been like, oh, check out this Abominus that I got, and he's so much, better quality, and this, that, and the other. And I'm just looking at Auden going like, man, how can you beat this thing? Like, I don't even like Abominus, and I love this figure. Like, this guy's amazing. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I didn't have a particularly strong connection to the character. I was never overly impressed by, anything about him. But just seeing that figure in hand and being like, wow, these guys know how to make a toy. Like, that thing just pops. So Yeah, I'm very pleased, and I don't think he'll ever be leaving my possession. It's not one of those ones I think I'll resell later or something like that. He's a keeper, that one.
Cool. So I'm going to tell a tiny little story before I get to my acquisitions. I sat down to breakfast about a week and a half ago. It was about 2 days, as Brad said, the 1st of July is, of course, important for those of us who collect figures coming in from overseas because it is GST Apocalypse Day. And anything coming into the country after the 1st of July is going to be subject to GST. Apparently. So here I was. I sat down a couple of days before the end of June. And I saw this guy in one of the US Transformers groups. He posted this new reflector set that he'd gotten, and I hadn't actually seen anyone mention this anywhere, and I've still seen very few mentions of it. It's a Papa toy, so it's like just some sort of like rando Chinese version, but they're very G1 reflector inspired bots, and I'm not sure if it's a KO or anything, but
it's a KO of the Perfect Effect ones from way back when.
Yeah, so aren't the Perfect Effect ones tiny?
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to go get a size comparison real quick.
Yeah.
These things are insanely small.
This will work well with you in Adelaide and me in Sydney.
Can I just say, Jason, while he's doing that I'm automatically jealous because I've been after a decent reflector kit, and I know the one you're talking about. That's been flying around lately, and that looks amazing.
It's like $45.
Yeah, I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I have a feeling that if these are KOs of the Perfect Effect ones, because I do have one of the PE ones, these are somewhat upscaled.
Yeah, they're definitely upscaled. Like, I mean, but they're a great figure anyway, and so
the guns are all over the place.
Yeah,
that's the problem of having to worry about pieces falling everywhere, and probably breakages as well.
But yeah,
that's awesome, Jason.
So I'm pretty happy with that. Having just opened the box up for the first time, these arrived today. So yeah, like I'm quite happy with that because the PE ones that I have are actually they're not the cartoon color ones, and yeah, these will look pretty good on the shelf. So I'm pretty happy.
Seriously,
with that.
Jason, send me a link after the podcast.
I'll tell you where I got them from, and that's kind of important, right? Because I got them from the Chinese retailer Shouzi store, Shouzi store, however you pronounce it, and so they do basically like free shipping to Australia. And so,
oh wow!
While I was there, I thought, let's just check the stock that they've got on their website if they're going to do free shipping. So I also picked up the MMC Thunder Clash.
Nice.
So I haven't opened any of these guys because I've literally just gotten home and jumped onto the podcast. And the MMC Drift and Deadlock.
Oh wow! Jeez, man, that's a pretty
some good pickup.
Impressive haul.
I was going to get these guys from Planet Steel Express, but they're not pre-orders anymore from there, and they will charge shipping.
Okay.
And they were basically the same price as PSX, but free shipping from Shouzi store. So I ordered them from there. Now the interesting thing about this is that I ordered them a couple of days before the GST curtain came down. They didn't ship before then. I checked my emails today. I actually got a shipping notification on the 2nd of July. And they arrived today. They arrived today in Australia Post e-parcels with my address on them, but not with the word Australia on them. So they were posted from within Australia.
Right.
Now that means that, but they definitely shipped from China, and it looks like they shipped in via some kind of a freight forwarder in New South Wales somewhere. And yeah, I did not get charged. I did not get charged GST on it. Now, having had a chat with some of my friends who are very interested in chasing down all the GST rule stuff, one of the conditions for you as an overseas retailer needing to collect GST on purchases for Australian customers is that you must have if you are doing sort of over a certain minimum threshold of business with Australians, that's when you need to collect GST. obviously an action, a toy and an action figure store, they are not hitting that limit. So I don't think they actually need to collect GST. And it seems to me as if the parcels coming into Australia, they're not going to actually be, they're not actually going to stop and inspect every parcel, but they're going to sample where the parcels have come from and determine whether or not the businesses that are sending them in are actually over that threshold. So, we might cry doom and gloom for ordering all of our things from overseas. It might not be that bad. It
might just be the big companies.
Yeah, it might just be the big companies because they're the ones who have the high turnover. So look, it's early days yet. We'll see whether or not this happens. Chris, I encourage you to jump onto Show's store and order your own Papa Toys reflector set and see whether or not you get slugged GST for it. But my suspicion
I'll probably do it anyway. But it'd be interesting to see whether they do that.
As I was saying, my suspicion is that you will not be charged GST for it. So unless someone from the ATO is listening, in which case all bets are on.
This does not reflect the views of the TCCA.
So anyway, that was my acquisitions thing. So these just turned up at work this afternoon.
Nice.
I wasn't expecting them to come in quite so fast. So I'm pretty happy with them.
Yeah, I've seen that MMC Deadlock in hand, and that thing is gorgeous. So I'm assuming the Drift is as well. So
Drift is. I mean, you can make a strong case about being the best MMC figure. I think I said to you when it came out, like that is. Culture
is unbeatable. Culture is on a pedestal that nobody else can reach.
I think that might be the problem.
What's that? Sorry.
Culture does have parts swarming. Is the only thing. I love that figure. I love its pieces, but I don't know. I think it'd be a strong toss up between those two. And then probably Carnifex as well.
Yeah, I've heard. See, I need to get myself a Carnifex, and I've heard brilliant things about it. But with my Culture,
I'll just turn my camera slightly up to the top of the display there.
Well, I just feel like with my Culture that. And for those who don't know what the hell we're talking about, that Culture is the MMC version of Tarn from IDW Comics. But I feel like
Brad just fell asleep.
Yeah, I feel like that if somebody had me at gunpoint and said, "I'm throwing all of your Transformer collection into a wood chipper, but you can keep one," I think Culture would be the one I'd keep. That's how much I love that figure. So it's hard for me to not be biased. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, all right. That I believe concludes new acquisitions. Now, it is TCCA membership renewal month. Brad, would you like to give us a spiel on membership renewal?
Yep, we're keeping it simple this year. We've just got the $5 membership level where you get the 2 brand new collector cards, art done by our favourite. No, I'm not going to say favourite club artist. Club artist.
It's a good thing you didn't say favourite.
Yeah. That's going to get cut out.
It also was not me. It was Justin.
So, some great art there with Soundwave and Shockwave. No, Soundwave and Blaster with the minions on the card. So you get those, you get the collector, you get the membership card, and you get the bumper sticker. So just $5 and you'll get that sent out to you and be a paid member. And we'll be doing a paid members giveaway at the end of January. January. What did I say? January again? July as a thank you for those that signed up in the first month. So stay tuned. We'll be announcing that this week.
And can I say the cards, as ever, are fantastic.
I like really good.
Yeah, I like the TCCA cards better than the cards that come with like the Hasbro figures and stuff. Yeah, they have pride of place in my collection. I love them.
Good to hear, man.
All right. We did say earlier on that we were going to try and do things quickly, and I don't think we've done them quickly, but we have reached the end of the show. So if you are listening along with the live record, thanks for checking it out. Otherwise, Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If you want to find out more about these stories, there's links to them in the show notes and in the this week's episode post on the Transformers Weekly Facebook page. Our official site is on Podbean. It's transformersweekly.podbean.com. You can find us. You can find us all in the Australian Transformers Collectors Club Australia. In the Transformers Collectors Club Australia group on Facebook. And, of course, the podcast page on Facebook is Australian Transformers Weekly. You can find us on iTunes, podcasts, Pocket Casts, Google Podcasts, whatever. You can find us pretty easily, and the link to the RSS feed to subscribe is in the show notes. As we mentioned, we are a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia. It's a registered and incorporated club in Victoria, and it is not for profit. TCCA is run by volunteers who donate their time and money and Friday nights to make the club and podcast better for everyone. Our goal is to connect Transformers fans around the country, and we do it by engaging the collecting community. If you'd like to be a part or find out more, please have a look at transformerscca.com. We would encourage you to just fling $5 your way if you enjoy what we do, and become a member for the year. That is it for us. Someone was going to say something.
It is literally $5.
Yeah, it is. It is $5. It's $5.40 if you pay with PayPal because of PayPal's fees, but it's $5. Okay,
and totally worth it. Totally worth it.
And for your $5, you'll get some gear back from the club as well. So, please do feel free to come along and support us. And if you've come along to a convention and you've seen us there, that is what memberships pay for, along with money gained from donation drives and other fundraising activities throughout the year. So without members, we can't do that, and we can't go out and engage the community. So please do. I was going to say dig deep and donate, but you only need to dig to the depth of $5. So
yeah.
All right, that is all for us. It is starting to push 11 o'clock on a Friday night. It's been a bit of a late record for us. So thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll be back with more Transformers news next week.
Lovely. See you later, guys.
See ya.
Bye.